Our next tool in the toolbar is our Layer tool. Now if we left click on it, we can see a drop down menu. And in that menu we have some check boxes that we can check. It says Default, Transparent, Ignore, and Water. These are layers that we can put objects into. This is basically like any editing program where you can combine objects into different layers and then show, hide, freeze, things like that with those layers. What we can do with these is actually show and hide them to organize some of our files, but we can also use this with our scripting that we can test with things that are within layers. Now, by default, everything that we create is going to be dropped right into the default layer. So let's go ahead and say we turn off the default. We turn that one off, everything disappears in here because that's where everything was. We'll go ahead and turn it back on to create those, to show those back in the scene. Now let's go in and create a new layer. So we're going to say Edit Layers. When we go into Edit Layers, you're going to know something familiar, tags. So the tags and the layers are all in the same spot. These are inside of our Tag Manager. So in here we have some predefined layers that we can't actually get into. These are defined by Unity and used by Unity. But if we want to make our own, we can get into our used layer. I could get into a used layer 8. We could call this one our scene objects. And by creating a name on this, we can actually go back to our layers. We can now see that we have scene objects gold. And what we want to do is actually say what layer our objects are in. So let's just, for the fun of it, let's get rid of all these, except for that guy, because that's what those layers are in. We're going to select on this layer. We're going to go over to the top of our inspector. We see tag and we see layer. Now the object is set to a layer from right here. We can left click on it, and then we can actually select what layer we want this object to be in. So we can say, I want this object to be in the scene object gold, and that's the layer that it's going to be put into. I'm going to put this one into, let's say, the scene object gold, and we'll leave this one in the default layer. This way, if we go in and we say hide the default layer, that object disappears. These two guys are still here because they're inside of that scene object gold layer. So the use of layers works well just for managing a scene, but more importantly for working within the scripting of Unity and working with more game code and gameplay mechanics.